The Elite Dragon Martial Arts Dojo was alive with the sound of bare feet shuffling on polished wood, the rustle of crisp white gis, and the quiet murmur of students chatting between drills. Rows of framed championship photos lined the walls, each a frozen moment of triumph, dominance, and skill. But today, the energy was different, more electric, more expectant. Word had spread quickly through the dojo. Victor Kane, the reigning middleweight martial arts champion, was here not for training, but for a demonstration. Victor was the kind of fighter you couldn't ignore, tall, broad-shouldered, with the swagger of someone who'd been told his whole life he was unstoppable. His fights always made headlines, not just for his wins, but for the way he toyed with opponents. He didn't just beat people, he humiliated them, breaking their confidence before breaking their guard. He was a master in the ring, but outside of it, his ego often spoke louder than his discipline. That morning, the dojo owner had invited him for a guest session. Victor, never one to turn down an audience, had agreed instantly. The class stopped mid-drill when Victor strode onto the mat, black gi tied perfectly, his hands raised in mock combat as if the world was his stage. It was during this performance that Marcus Hill walked in. Marcus didn't belong here, not anymore. He wore a plain white shirt tucked neatly into black slacks, his shoes leaving faint squeaks on the polished floor as he stepped inside. In his hands, a small paper bag with steaming takeout, lunch for the dojo's staff. He had no intention of staying, but the sight of a familiar banner reading Elite Dragon brought an ache of nostalgia. This was the same dojo where over 15 years ago he'd trained every evening after school. The same walls that had once echoed with the voice of his old sensei, teaching not just combat, but humility. Before Marcus could leave, two younger students recognized him. "Hey, aren't you Marcus Hill?" one whispered. The Marcus Hill. They'd seen old grainy videos online, clips from underground circuits of a fighter who moved like lightning and hit with precision that seemed almost unreal. Marcus waved them off politely, but it was too late. The whispers reached Victor's ears. Victor turned, his smirk growing. "You're telling me this guy used to fight?" he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Come on, look at him. He's in dress shoes. What's he gonna do, serve me lunch?" The students laughed nervously, their phones already raised, sensing drama. Marcus sighed. "I'm just delivering food. I'm not here to spar." He set the bag on a bench, but Victor stepped forward, fists raised, that predator's glint in his eyes. "What's the matter? Scared? Or maybe you just can't keep up anymore?" Marcus's jaw tightened. Years of keeping a low profile had taught him to walk away from challenges like this. But something about the mockery, especially in front of young students, made him pause. He thought of the day he'd quit fighting. It had been after a brutal match in a dingy basement arena, the kind where the crowd pressed in so close you could feel their breath. Marcus had won, but his opponent, a close friend, left on a stretcher with a concussion that kept him in the hospital for days. The victory had felt hollow, ugly. He'd sworn never to fight for glory again, not when the cost was so high. Instead, he turned his skills toward teaching kids discipline and self-control in a small community center. Fighting wasn't about proving you were better, it was about making sure you didn't have to fight at all. But now, this wasn't about glory, this was about teaching another lesson. Marcus stepped forward, loosening his shoulders. 3 minutes, he said quietly. "You last 3 minutes without touching the mat, I'll buy you lunch for a week." Victor grinned, bouncing on his toes. "You're on." The first lunge came fast, a textbook jab-cross combo meant to test Marcus's reaction. But Marcus didn't block the way most fighters would. He stepped just outside the line of attack, his movements almost lazy in their precision. The crowd's phones caught it all, Victor's punch whistling past empty air, Marcus's subtle shift making it look like he had vanished for a second. Victor pressed harder, faster, hooks, kicks, feints, each one met with nothing but deflections, redirects, and tiny adjustments that kept Marcus untouched. It wasn't flashy, but it was devastating to watch. Victor's face tightened as the seconds ticked by. And then Marcus saw it, Victor overextending on a roundhouse kick. In one smooth motion, Marcus stepped inside, placing his palm gently on Victor's chest. The push wasn't hard, but the timing and angle were perfect. Victor's balance gave way, and the champion stumbled back, hitting the mat with a dull thud. "Silence!" Marcus stepped back, breathing steadily. "It's not about hitting harder," he said, his voice calm but carrying through the room. "It's about control. Real fighters don't need to prove themselves with every strike. They prove it by knowing when not to strike." Victor stared up at him, chest rising and falling, pride burning hotter than any bruise. But when Marcus offered his hand, he took it. Something in Victor's eyes shifted, not defeat, but respect. The moment went viral within hours. People expected Victor to brush it off, to call it a fluke. Instead, the next week, he walked into Marcus's tiny community gym, bowed, and asked to train under him. Months later, Victor fought in the biggest bout of his career. This time, he didn't taunt his opponent or play to the crowd. He fought with the patience and precision Marcus had taught him, and when he won, he didn't raise his fists first. He bowed. And in the post-fight interview, he dedicated the win to "the man who taught me that strength without humility isn't strength at all." Back at the dojo where it all started, Marcus continued teaching, not for fame, not for money, but for the quiet satisfaction of knowing he was passing down the lesson that had taken him years to learn. The best fighters aren't the ones who win the loudest battles. They're the ones who can walk away from them.